Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Maxwell Hot Tips. My name is James Cole, I'm a product design graduate at Maxwell Studio in South East England. In today's hot tip, I'm going to be having a look at making a new viewport in Maxwell Studio to make your workflow easier. So here I am in Maxwell Studio with a very nice jewellery scene, and it was in a very similar scene that I realised that this hot tip might be useful. Because what had happened was I was navigating around the scene, and I had to get really close and in-depth to these very small objects, and I had to move them minuscule amounts in order to make it look correct. And I was encountering some difficulty, so I made a new viewport to help me out, and I was actually Skyping with the client at the time, and they realised how useful that was, so I thought I'd share it with everyone. Now this is a very basic scene with just a backplane and a group which is the ring. And let's say what I want to do is have a copy of this ring, so there are two rings in my scene, and then I want to position the new one so that it's just leaning up against this current one. What I need to do is go over to my object manager and right click on the group and say clone, because I cannot make an instance of a group, so clone that group. And then one thing you need to be wary of is that you will have all of these clones selected, so just click anywhere in the object manager to deselect all of those and select just the clone of the group and not all of these other individual objects. So then I'm just going to close that group and then activate my file window so that it updates automatically. Then what I'm just going to do is use the move tools to move this group out and move it to approximately where I want it to. Then use the rotate tool, rotate it around a bit, and again move it to approximately where it should be. And although that might look good-ish, or maybe good enough, what I need to do is go to my perspective view to make sure that I'm not getting a lot of intersections at these edges, where this new ring is touching the old ring and the floor. So I'm going to go to the top left, and from this drop down just select perspective, so I'm not looking through my camera anymore. And just make sure that the ring is touching but not really heavily intersecting. It's best to have a little bit of intersection rather than a gap, because the human eye will see a gap before it sees a little bit of intersection. But the difficulty was in this particular scene that I was working on at the time was that despite the fact that I can see the ring in this view and my original camera image in this view, because this jewellery scene was quite render intensive, the fire window couldn't really keep up, and so I needed another way of seeing this view updating in real time. So what I did was stop the fire preview and then go to Window and New Viewport. And this viewport is exactly the same as this viewport, and I can customize it to whatever view I want. And like any other window in Maxwell Studio, I can click on this little attach button in the top right to attach it to the Maxwell Studio interface. And then I can just click and drag and put it next to my perspective view. And then just put my mouse over this little intersection here, and when it turns to two arrows, click and drag and it comes out, and then go to perspective, camera. And so now I've got my camera view in a viewport rather than the fire window. So it will update immediately, and it just helps me work a lot faster. And also I can see that the arrangement of the objects in the scene is what I would like in my render. For example, I might actually want to rotate this ring round a little bit more and then move it back into position. But I can use this view here to get a close eye on things and make sure that nothing is really intersecting very badly, and to make sure that there is maybe a tiny bit of intersection. Yep, that looks good. Maybe a bit too much, it's just touching there. But also definitely no gaps anywhere, particularly on the bottom. So I've got one viewport to do all of my close-in work and one viewport showing the overall scene. And of course when I'm finished I can use the fire engine to make sure that it looks roughly right, and then of course finally render it in Maxwell Render. So that's your hot tip for today. If you'd like to use a new viewport so you can get another eye on things, don't forget you can always go to Window and New Viewport. For example, you could make it orthographic with front, back, left, right, top and down, or as I've done here, you could make it a 3D view and just put it wherever you like it. And again, of course, you can always attach it into the Maxwell Studio interface and move it to wherever you like, and resize your other windows as required. If you'd like one-to-one Skype help with Maxwell Render, I'm only an email away. But in the meantime, I hope you subscribe and enjoy my other videos. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again soon.